Viewers, thank you for joining us. You're watching our weekly program, Talk to OBN on OBN Horn of Africa. In this edition, we'll be talking about tourism industry, mainly the East African and largely about African tourism potential. And I joined by Rwandese entrepreneur Andrew Gatera, managing director of a tourism company called G-Step, which operates G-Step Coffee and G-Step Tours. Andrew, thank you for joining me.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for hosting me.
Okay. I need you to just insight us on your profile precisely.
My name is Andrew Gatera, and I run the G-Step group, which has two products, one in coffee and then one in tourism. And my background has been pretty diverse. I've been engaged into trading. I've been into Chinese language, literature, and culture, education backgrounds. I taught the Chinese language in the University of Ghana for a full year until I decided to join tourism. But previously, before that, I was also engaged into e-commerce, connecting the Chinese market and the African continent. So, but now I'm fully focused into tourism and coffee business.
Your background is literature and communication, but you ended up being, a tour operator that works on coffee and tourism destinations. How come? With background being communication literature?
Yeah, it's very interesting to actually. It was a very big change shift, but as I told you, I had lived in China for many years, pursuing my education, and I saw there was a very big gap. Most of the foreign countries don't understand the landscape that is in Africa. They don't know what we have in Africa. So for me, having the advantage of speaking the Chinese language, I created the opportunity to feel that I should create linkage between Africa and China in terms of tourism. So tourism connects people. Same thing as coffee. Coffee also connects people. And the shift, I felt that in terms of trading, most of the products come from China to Africa. But this time I was looking at something that we can also sell to China in return to balance our trade economy. So that's why I made the shift and decided to come back home and focus on these two products, which are tourism and coffee. So basically, that's a background that motivated me to be a kind of an ambassador for my country and Africa at large, exporting our tourism services and coffee to not only to China but also other outside countries.
You're managing director of this tour operator. You run this G-Step Coffee and G-Step Tours. Can you also tell us the overall operation of your organization?
The overall operations are based in Kigali, and these two products actually run independently. They are both projects under G-Step Group, and they are pretty new startup projects that came just recently. For tourism, I have been into the sector for about 8 years, but the coffee business has been pretty young. It's about 3 years. Only that we recently launched the coffee shop, which is under a different name. It's called One Cup, and that's where we roast our coffees, and we also roast the G-Step specialty coffee. So the coffee shop is newly established, and it's in the process of launch. But it's already operational, and most of the time that's where we do our operations from. So we have a pretty young team that is behind all the operations, and looking forward to the growth and compete within the country, but also looking at tapping into the niche for the specialty coffee when it comes to export, but only to those that appreciate the high quality of coffee.
From your global understanding of tourism and the tourism sector, and how do you put the role of tourism in boosting the nation's economy?
In Africa, we are very much gifted. We are very rich. We have very rich nature. We have very strong culture, but most of our countries they don't have well documented, history. So and our culture is very much known to ourselves, and yet it's something that we need to sell to the entire world. So most of the foreign countries think that Africa is just a bad story. It's a dark continent. They think we don't have anything much of value. So they think of poverty, they think of instability, they think of hunger. They just think it's a kind of a zone of heat and forest. So they really don't understand what we have, and we're very much blessed. So as I was telling you, is that Africa really has a very big potential in terms of tourism, because you can see due to the fact that global warming is everywhere, people are trying even to look for places that are blessed with nature, and Africa exactly has this. So as you can tell, previously most of the continents, most of the people out of the African continent, they tend to assume that Africa is a dark continent. It's a kind of a hell or full of poverty, full of insecurity. They think that it's not it's a no-go zone. And but those who understand, they really understand. But it's also time that our African continent wakes up and exposes what we have to the world. So we really have big potential because most of the people have traveled the whole world, but Africa still is still very undiscovered. It's a gem that is not discovered, but you can see that in developing economies, the Western countries they are trying to look out for new things, and this is where Africa is going to turn the revenues from. So, as I give an example of Rwanda, which is on everyone's list. When you look at what are the promotions that are being done by the country in the UK or in the US, most of the activities that are happening, lots of conferences and meetings, big meetings coming to the country. Most of the countries are opening up their eyes. They are looking at Rwanda as a different destination, but not only Rwanda is benefiting from this, the entire continent of Africa is being exposed to the world. So everyone is looking at a very small country like Rwanda and they're looking at Africa. That is a place that actually should be explored. So I think there's a big potential that we need to focus on and push to the outside world. Most of the countries, you understand, we don't have so much of the natural resources, say oil or all the minerals, but tourism and culture, these can actually turn huge sums of money because they don't get finished. These are the services that we can sell for a very long time compared to those other natural sources.
If we just see Africa in separate regions, we can mention this North Africa rich in oil and West Africa with raw materials, mainly diamond, platinum, and others, and other resources as well, like cacao. Central Africa rich in minerals and raw materials. South, obviously, with diamond, platinum, gold.
Yeah.
When we come to East Africa, Horn of Africa, it's endowed with natural resources, endowed with animals, and beautiful topographies. How do you describe the uniqueness of Horn of Africa and East Africa, mainly Uganda, Rwanda, Ethiopia, you see, Kenya, in terms of tourism and their unique feature?
Whoa, it's actually very much amazing that you mentioned the Horn of Africa and East Africa in general. These locations actually should be on everyone's checklist. Because when you look at what Ethiopia has, and you continue going down, look at what Uganda has, you look at Rwanda, you look at this
Tanzania. Mm.
Tanzania,
Mm.
Kenya. These countries are very well located at a very good location. They're bordering the ocean, and basically they offer you the beach kind of lifestyle, and they give you the safari, very rich in safari, but they also have, they're very rich in nature. But the culture, we're also looking at the culture, the stronger culture that has been recorded so many years ago. You look at Ethiopia, commonly known as the land of the origin. So there is a very strong culture. And you can see most of people, because I ventured into coffee and I was in Ethiopia recently looking at their coffee and tourism sector. And this is the birthplace of coffee. But most of the people outside this world, they don't actually know that actually coffee originated in Ethiopia. They just enjoy the cup of coffee without knowing the originality. And when you compare that and see Rwanda, the uniqueness of Rwanda itself, you look, we have very high altitude. We grow one of the best coffees in the world, but no one will tell. Simply because the country is a bit small, the quantities we have cannot feed the entire world. But the taste of the coffee is amazing. And you look at the landscape, the volcanoes that we have the mountain gorillas, the people, the history. It is very unique, different from Uganda. Though in terms of nature, you can see that Uganda is the biggest lake in East Africa, Lake Victoria, that the source of the river Nile penetrates through and flows, reaches up to Ethiopia until it goes to Egypt. So these are very, very special destinations that no one knows. We have the massive animal migration that crosses between Tanzania and Kenya, and the entire world comes to see these wild beasts crossing the river. So I'm telling you, all these countries have something very special, very different. And you look at Masai Mara, you look at Serengeti of Tanzania, the craters, the mountains, look at the Rwenzori in Uganda, you look at Kilimanjaro, and then you look at the Ethiopian mountains that is actually even active recently. So you look at the culture of the people, the area, the province of Oromia. Look at the rich culture that is there. A few days when I was in Ethiopia, there was this ceremony that was running. And when you talk about Ethiopia, you look at the rich culture that is gifted by God, I think, from the history as the only country in Africa that was not colonized. It's very, very interesting to see how the people stood by themselves and they kept the culture very strong. Look at the region of Oromia and look at the entire country, the influence that went across to all the people of Ethiopia, and the culture very well preserved. The way they eat, the way they dance, the way they do their things, it is something that the entire world has to see really. They haven't seen. Myself, I'm from Africa. I live in Rwanda. I was born in Uganda. I know East Africa very well, but the first time I stepped in Ethiopia, you could see the strong culture. Most of the African countries' cultures have been a little bit influenced, but you see how culture has been preserved, maintained, and being taught to generations. It is something that we should learn from and uh, keep keep the pride within our culture. And these are things that are not existing anywhere in the world, and this brings the people to the continent of Africa. So when you look at the entire region, we have something different. You look when if you're a love of culture and heritage, you want to do safari, you want nature. We have natural forests. You can choose one of the countries to visit within East Africa because they are different, gifted differently. If you're a love of hiking or walking, we have the natural trails where you walk, long distances under very very nice weather by the lakeside. This you can easily find in East Africa, and each country different culture, but the landscape, the weather totally different. So when you combine the entire East African region, I think you can't compete if you compare to the entire world.
Thank you for your brief explanation on the tourism potential that Eastern Africa has. Lately, you've been to Ethiopia and you've visited the Oromia Tourism Commission. Can you tell us about your stay here and your experience and the thing that you liked most and the thing that you want to comment on?
It was indeed a pleasure for me visiting Oromia region and also visiting the Oromia Tourism Commission. The hospitality was like at the top of it. And I'm telling you that what Oromia Tourism Commission is doing is highly commendable. And I think in very few months, not years, Oromia is going to be at the top of most of people's fingertips because most of the work that is being done, the efforts are very visible. You can see the commitment of everyone. I met the commissioner herself, and I met the whole entire team of Oromia Tourism Commission. Everyone was, very, very much hardworking. I attended the tourism week. You could see the efforts, the people around. Everyone was really trying to focus on revamping the tourism sector. It is something that is going to really generate results within the region because Ethiopia has so much to leverage on. You can see the transit that happen in Addis Ababa every day. All those numbers are not being converted. Uh, when you see the stopovers, the people coming out of the airport to stay in Addis, to have 1 or 2, 3 days visit in Ethiopia, the numbers are not enough. And this is what I can recommend and see that if we are flying over to any other country and transiting in Ethiopia, we should be able to move out easily and see what the country has to offer. So, but what I can tell you is that the Commission of Tourism in Ethiopia, mainly the Oromia region, is doing a great job, and I'm very sure that so many people are going to follow on the leads. Most of the work that has been put outside there is very much visible, and very few months to come. I'm telling you, numbers are going to be showing the results because the efforts that have been put into this is big. And I just hope that there's that consistency. If the Tourism Commission doesn't relax a little bit, they keep on doing the way they are doing things now. In the next 1 year, I think Oromia is going to be something different on the entire continent of Africa.
During your visit, you've got a chance to visit some places in Oromia, and also you just noted the tourism potentials that the region has specifically. What would you like to comment or recommend for those authorities to put on the existing tourism potential that the region has? What are the unique things that Ethiopia or Oromia should utilize more to attract tourists that are not common in other parts of the world, maybe other parts of Eastern Africa, maybe other parts of continent Africa?
The region has a lot. You can see the natural game reserves, the national parks existing in Oromia region alone, over 100 national parks there. And the nature is existing. We saw the fresh waters in the region. You see all that is existing in the region, but not so many people know about it. Most people think it's actually Ethiopia is one of the desert covered countries, which is not true. And the nature there is amazing. The birthplace of coffee, the land of origin. There is a lot of history that is attached to Ethiopia. And you look at the strong culture that the region has. You look at the dances, amazing, amazing dances. You look at the food, the cultures are different. Different tribes, different dances. You could actually enjoy one culture dance in a day and takes you about 2, 3, 4 months, a year without exploring all the cultures that the country has. So I think it is time for the officials to maximize the potential. Uh, Already, you have a very strong airline, which is Ethiopia Airline, that is carrying so many people, transiting through the country. I think the main focus is to look at countries like Rwanda, what they have done. Free visas for everyone on arrival, uh, very smooth, uh, uh, you know, landing. When the policies are very easy for people, you make things easier for everyone to come into the country. It becomes the numbers will be maximized because those are the revenues that enter into the country. Every stopovers, even if someone staying one day, the minimum amount of money to spend is $100 or $200 now for a few hours, and that's a lot of money to stay within the country, and the same money reaches onto a big number of people engaged into handcrafts, and culture, the dances, the food, the nightlife, so all that contributes to the entire economy. So when you look at the numbers, really, I think the officials should look into it, look into the visa policy, uh, to make it very easy for the people to transit, to go out. Even if you have 5 hours, you can reach the city. You leave that 50, $100 out for a few hours, go back to the airport. That is something that has to be looked into. Rwanda has successfully done that, waiving all the visas for many countries, and it is generating results. So I think Ethiopia has to look into that direction. And because of when I was there, I saw the region is a bit is very stable. The security is there, and we walked without any problem. And this has to be emphasized to the entire community, to the entire world that it is safe to visit Oromia region now, and there is a lot of things to see. Only in the context of coffee, the birthplace of coffee, it can bring people. Imagine how many people drink coffee in the whole world. If you push the word that let's go back to the birthplace of coffee, I'm sure there are so many people be interested. If myself, I'm interested from Rwanda to go and check out the coffee, then how about the rest? So I think there's big potential, and the region is trying to do the right thing, I think, right now, and it will not come right now, because there are so many things to change. When you look into the policy, not only Oromia region is going to achieve that, but of course, I trust the efforts that the Commission has put into this tourism promotion, and definitely to work with the concerned officials. They look into the visa policy, they look at the visa fees for Africans. Like when you look at the Ethiopian airline, carries many Africans, flies into many African countries, and most of the people transiting, the Africans also, of course. So how do we look at the visa fee? When I entered Ethiopia, the fee I paid of $80 only to enter the country, it is not sustainable. Can I enter free as an African and spend more than $200? So we can look at different revenues, and I would not like the idea that I'm paying the visa fee to enter the country, and I spend less in the country, or I don't consider entering the country because the visa fee is high. So what I'm looking at is, can we make it easy for people to enter the country and see tap into their pockets when they enter? But if we stop them from entering, and then we don't actually get a chance to pull what they have into their pockets. So let's have them first, and then look at it's basically when people enter, they act as ambassadors. So the word spreads more. But if they don't enter to see what Ethiopia has, the word will never spread as quick as possible.
I'm noted that you highly appreciated Ethiopian Airlines. Obviously, it's a very big hub for African and other passengers that who want to connect from Ethiopia or from anywhere else to other countries. It's obviously a layover or a stopover for many travelers. In what way should Ethiopian government change these opportunities into tourism leverage? Most passengers lay over, they directly connect after a few hours. What ought to be done around the airport to attract tourists? You understand what I'm saying? They stay for a few hours, but if you're talking about using the Ethiopian Airlines in other means for revenue collection or making money, that makes sense.
When I was at the tourism week, I realized that there was ET holidays. So when you look at ET holidays, they sell packages, and most of these packages, if they are open to everyone to travel with Ethiopian airline, and they have leverage. If they have leverage over, if they have leverage of stopping in Ethiopia with very straightforward packages, very affordable, fee. I think it's something that can add value to the tourism sector. But the key point is that when I was out of the airport, I realized that most of the stopovers, the people that lay off, they are either have so many hours of transit in at the airport. The airline takes them out of the airport to lay over at their hotel, and they hang out there. Then they go back to the airport. They don't see anything. So, and this is because it's arranged by the airline. But is it possible to work out another plan where other travelers just traveling on their own, whether they are using Ethiopia Airline or the other airlines, can they have another plan where they are motivated to move out of the airport to go and see what is outside there? So, and that's where the money is. If the process of entry to the country is very easy.
Ethiopia is endowed with, so many historical and cultural resources. We can mention this having its own alphabet. You see, it's 13 months of sunshine, the birthplace of mankind, arguably the birthplace of coffee, and not colonized by foreign aggressors. Some historical and cultural resources have been registered by UNESCO. Do you think these values would leverage out the potential of the country in terms of attracting tourists? And what should be done in those areas? Or do you think the government of Ethiopia has done its assignment to the extent it's expected to utilize these values, though?
Absolutely. I mean, all those values, they are actually of a very high value as the context goes. When you look at the statement that is the origin of mankind. Who is not part of the mankind in this entire world? So if you're human and you are told about your origin and you have never left your comfort zone, I think everyone should be able to feel connected and curious. So this is very, very important to everyone, and it has not been maximized as I mentioned earlier. So, and as I mentioned earlier, all these values, the birthplace of coffee, and we're looking at the origin of humankind. We are looking at the UNESCO sites that have been recognized, all of them. I think, as I had mentioned earlier, the potential has not been maximized. That is the truth, because if it has been maximized, then there would not be Oromia Tourism Commission pushing right now. So, but what they are trying to do is to identify the gaps, what is not being done, and they are trying to target those gaps, close the gaps, and definitely the sky will be the limit.
Oi.
I gave you an example of I gave
Nah.
an example I gave an example of Ethiopia holidays. If they come up with very good packages, because Ethiopia Airlines is already known, and a lot of work was done to make it known into the African region. So if those holiday packages are also pushed out in the community, into all the travelers, and with the very right visa, policy, numbers will definitely increase in no time if the work of the Oromia Tourism Commission progresses the way it's being done. Then I'm sure the potential is there, and results, very positive results will be there.
Dear viewers, thank you for watching. This brings you to the end of our edition for today. See you next time with another edition. Bye-bye. Take care.